Welcome everyone to round 3 of the PSGL F3 Championship, coming to you from Austin, Texas at the spectacular circuit of the Americas. After 2 thrilling opening rounds for Australia and Belgium, the season has already begun to take shape, and right now it's Polimachi who sets the benchmark in this championship. 2 races, 2 victories. The McLaren driver has been near flawless so far this season, executed both strategy and pace to perfection. From an early undercut in Spa to composed drive from third in qualifying, he's shown championship winning form so far this season, just like Yuri Vizza did last season too, when he won 2-3 races in a row. Behind him, the McLaren teammate Evan Naslen has been the model of consistency. Back-to-back podium finishes in P2 have placed McLaren comfortably at the top of the Constructors' Championship with 46 points, already 27 ahead of their nearest rivals, VCarb, led by Milan Diosso and Seth Levi. DeMarco, currently tied with Milan in the standings on 18 points, will be eager to take the fight to McLaren after 2 strong qualifying showings. Meanwhile, Junkie Angle, who secured the fastest lap in Spa, and Slav for Red Bull remains much in the mix as well. Both showing strong pace, but still hunting for that podium breakthrough as well. And now the fight moves to Austin, one of the most complete tracks of the Canada. The circuit of the Americas stretches 5.5 kilometers and features 20 corners, from the sweeping high-speed S's modelled after the Silverstone Magnussen Beckett's, all the way to the tricky triple hander turn 16 to 18, inspired by the Istanbul Park when there was double left-handers in that track. This track demands the rhythm, the precision and the discipline, with a mix of elevation changes, technical braking zones and long straights. And divine overtaking, tyre wear tracks will play a key figure and role, especially in the final sector, where drivers can a huge chunk of time, but if they push too hard way early in the lap. So far, Polimachi looks untouchable, but can anybody stop his dominant run tonight? Can McLaren continue their perfect start, or will somebody through the field finally catch up to the Texan Sunsets? It is round 3 of the PSGL F3 Championship. The United States Grand Prix is about to get underway here in this qualifying session. Let's get ready for what promises to be another electric night of racing. My name is Jamie Morris, and alongside me tonight is my co-commentator, my partner. His name is Milan Langer. How you doing, mate? How you doing?
I'm doing alright, thank you very much, and great to be back for another round of PSGL this season. Can Polimachi go for 3 in a row? That would be quite something, and something I'm looking forward to see tonight. Hopefully, of course, this track, if I'm not mistaken, was the track that he won at last season in PSGL F3. So can he repeat that and extend his championship even further? At the moment he's got a lead of almost a full race win ahead of Milan Diosi in second place. So, well, let's see if he can extend, as everyone is out on track apart from Slav in the Red Bull. The first one out on track in the Mercedes, who is going to just around the final corner to start his first flying lap, is going to be Junkie Angle, with a wide approach coming in out of the final corner to get the ultimate straight line speed down. Start to finish straight to go uphill towards the first break. He's on a blind left-hander. Let's see how he tackles it. He hits the apex very nicely indeed, and flat out and very tight to the inside line here, cutting across the curb as much as possible. Now going through the S's, which is completely flat for these first couple of corners, and it's very easy to just cut across the white line and get yourself a track limit, 24.6 in the first sector. Now a little bit braking at the end of the S's. Bit of a moment mid-corner, but not too much time lost there for the Mercedes as he goes downhill again into the braking zone of the hairpin there of turn 11, and you want to get the best possible exit out of here, because it is a long straight, the longest straight around this track, and you will have DRS to assist you as well, as he's completely on the right hand side of the track, flirting there with the white line. And now we will go towards the braking zone of turn 12 downhill, and you can really cut across the inside curb as you can see here, but that is a little bit too much there by Junkie Angle, and that time is invalidated. Right behind him are the 2 Ferraris, and let's see which of them is going to be first. It's with McKiller in P14 and his teammate Probotos following closely behind, so Junkie Angle, he will not set a lap time. The first, it's going to be the 2 Ferrari boys currently have kept it clean throughout their lap as they make their way, but there is an invalidation for the first Ferrari, and the second one has found an invalidation as well. So is there anyone out there at the moment who has gone a clean lap so far? It might be Mighty Wombat in the Haas, who is the first one without an invalidation on their first one, as he makes his way towards the final 2 corners. The penultimate corner, really very quick left-hander, keeps it within white lines, and just 1 corner remain around this beautiful track here in Austin, Texas. Mighty Wombat is going to cross the line. The first lap on the board is going to be a 32.192. That is going to be the time to beat, which Knoxville and the Aston Martin does immediately by, well, almost a full second.
Absolutely obliterated that lap time already, has Noxie. But DeMarco goes quickest with a 30.9 there for the Alpine driver, who's been looking so strong so far this season. Has his own way. But Polimachi, the man that won the US Grand Prix last season, is P1. And what a victory it was for him last season too, because he really needed that. After all the bad luck he got plagued by last season, he really needed a turnaround. His teammate was stealing all the glory in the Haas. But Polimachi finally won, and he had a massive gap too, because I remember he had a penalty towards the Grand Prix, but still won the race as well, as Napo does invalidate in the first sector there as well. We see plenty of invalidations occurring across this qualifying session, which is not surprising either, considering this is a difficult track and you need to utilise and maximise every single part of this racetrack to try and gain the maximum amount of lap time as well, especially the first and last sector. Kingsman as well invalidated in the last corner or the last sector as he goes out wide there as well for good measure. But Danny Kvyat went out wide in 2015 when he was fighting against both Mercedes drivers for the win, but unfortunately crashed out that day too. 2015, what a race that was, with wet qualifying conditions and a mixed race too, where I think it was Hamilton who won ahead of Vettel and Rosberg. Hamilton won his third championship here this day as well here in USA, and Rosberg was vividly frustrated as well when he threw the cap over towards Lewis Hamilton, and Rosberg could have won but made that big mistake over towards 250. The car just, I think, aquaplaned and just spun out after it was in the wet conditions. But as you can see here in this qualifying session, plenty of people unexpectedly have invalidated. It is their first runs, of course, so they get plenty goes at it, but of course it's a longer track, so you can't afford to make too many mistakes, as we see a mad dash in the pit lane. So Polimachi off to a good start. This reminds me of last season, as I see two people in the pit lane making contact, so hopefully there is no 5-place grip penalty. But Polimachi, this is the start he needed as well, after being unlucky so badly in the last season where he kept disconnected and contact, etc. This is the perfect start he needs for his resurgence drive here to rectify himself in F3 this season. 2 wins on the trot and could be taking pole position too, but it is early parts of qualifying as well. We've still got plenty of people out there who could definitely improve. And we've got Kingsman, I think, on a flying lap. I think he is just bats off there, so we'll see him. McKillen go for a second lap here in the Ferrari. Has been unlucky as well this season in the Ferrari. Hasn't really shown much potential so far this season. And I remember at the Belgian Grand Prix, he didn't really, I don't think he raced at the Belgian Grand Prix, and also Australia got caught up in a few incidents as well, especially on his qualifying lap as well when he got held up and had to go off the track there. So down to P16, he's running out of fuel as well, running out of, I think, options as well, so he has to pit this lap. He's already done 2 laps on the set of soft compound tyres, and unfortunately cannot get a bank of it, so that could be troubling for him, as he does have a reference point to try and compare to his best lap time. But so far so good for the man in P1, Polimachi, and DeMarco in P2 as well, also looking very strong here in this qualifying session, as he usually is the Alpine driver.
One of the Red Bulls on up, it is Schlapp, who went out the latest out of all of these drivers. He's currently making his way through the final sector. Bit of a moment though on the exit. They are coming out of turn 13 and 14. Hasn't been the quickest lap so far, but it has been a clean one. At least he's kept it in the white lines. Let's see where this lap time will bring, because of course we still got 7 drivers remaining who haven't set a lap time yet in this qualifying session. Junkie Angle and Profitox also going out immediately as well for their second runs with just over 10 minutes remaining. But Schlapp is going to come out of the final corner, and let's see where he can settle himself inside the top 10, potentially as he crosses the line, not just outside P11 with a 31.958. And let's see if that is Adamico in the Aston Martin on the lap as well, down in P15. And let's see what he can do. His teammate at the moment still in 6th place, 31.2. It's quite close at the top, as it usually is here in PSGL F3 tonight. And no difference here at COTA as he makes his way through turns 12 and now going into turn 13 on 1.6 in the middle sector. To playing it as purple, but I don't think it is. But we'll find out soon enough. When he comes out of these final couple of corners, really wanted to get the traction right out of there, so it can be quite tricky with the nature of that corner, that left-hander, which also allows for some great overtaking in the race. But we'll see that tonight, and that is a bit of a hesitation there by the Aston Martin as he turned in quite early, then realized it was too early, and then he had to straighten up again and turn in a little bit late there. But he comes out of the final corner to go in P12, and that is the result of that with a 32.093 for the Aston Martin. But both Profitox and Junkie Angle have started their second laps with probably the aim of keeping it within the white lines this time. So it might be a little bit of a safer lap rather than a full-on push lap that they try to go for on their first run. So as Junkie Angle comes out of the first sector and looking clean for now, but he got his invalidation on his first run down into the braking zone of turn 12, which we'll come to in a few seconds time, but he's going to go wide out of turn 11, and that is going to completely ruin his lap. He hasn't invalidated that, but sure lost a couple of tenths with that moment. Just ahead is his teammate, who he might pick up a little bit of a slipstream from, but not too much. And especially given that this lap time will not be the quickest either. He goes out wide as well out of turn 12. He lifts off the throttle to avoid getting himself a track limit, but there's definitely a lot of time to be found on this lap so far. But the most important thing for him right now is that he will have a benchmark once he completes this lap. Just a couple of corners remaining, going flat out through this triple right-hander, and now the penultimate corner. Let's see if he keeps it within the white lines here through here as well. Yes, he does. And now one corner remains for Junkie Angle in the Mercedes, sliding his way in towards the final corner. But he's kept it clean. P10 it is for him. What about Profitox just behind? He goes up in 6th place. Just under 3.5 tenths away from Polamachi's time at the moment. Speaking of Polamachi, he has just started another lap right now. He's currently over 2 tenths clear of anyone else in this qualifying session. So an ideal start to his weekend here at COTA, and he is improving already through the first sector by half a tenth of a second. So already looking at a 30.6, but there is more time to be found, especially in the final sector. That's really where you can make or break your lap time and through the first sector as well. But the final sector is the most technical part of this lap. Now coming on to the back straight, really want to get the best run out there to maximize straight line speed, because you will carry that all the way towards the braking zone of turn 12, as Dimitri has gone to 2nd place in the Haas, just over 2 tenths away. Polamachi into the braking zone, cutting across the inside curve very nicely indeed, and he's up by a quarter of a second through the middle sector, 2.6 tenths up at the moment, looking at a 30.5, maybe even 30.4 if he nails this final lap, final sector on this lap as well. It's looking very good. There's a very clean lap so far for Polamachi, our championship leader. Was won the last 2 races. The Michael goes quickest with a 30.6, so Polamachi needs to improve on this lap as he comes out of the penultimate corner, very close there with track limits. Vauxhall has gone P3 in the Aston Martin, but here comes our championship leader to the line, and it will be a 30.534 and beats the Michael by just under a tenth of a second.
5 drivers in the 30s there as well. What incredible effort there for Polamachi. Absolute sensational lap. I was on board as well with the RP driver. It looked hooked up as well. It looked very clean, but Polamachi just had the edge over him as well, as Noxie is in P3 and his debut as well here at Texas. And also Evan Naslund, unfortunately, in the McLaren has invalidated once again, so expect plenty of them, as Giggle Goonfart is going for another flying lap there. What can McLaren also do as well? The man that challenged Polamachi for the win last time at the Belgian Grand Prix, but unfortunately he's down to P9 and doesn't seem to be on an absolute flyer so far, so seems to be struggling just a tad there as well. Both Williams are down in P17 and P18. Napoli, unfortunately, not getting the best start of the season like he did last season too. He really struggled, and he had a DNF back at the Belgian Grand Prix as well, so it hasn't gone to a perfect start for him. Napoli does struggle. He had a DNF as well at the Australian Grand Prix. Kingsman, his teammates, gone P9 in the Williams there, just ahead of Milan. So let's see if he can improve or not. KDRN is P11 in the kick. Saba Magandana in P12, 2 tenths down in the middle sector, so not improving on that lap time is the LP driver as he makes his way towards the final corner. He goes, and his lap time stays P12. He did gain time in the final sector though, so still continue with that lap despite being down in the middle sector. So still a lot of time to be found from these drivers, but nobody so far is beating the man of Polamachi. But last season is quite a picture. It's picturing the same story as last season, where it was Javier Visser who dominated the first 3 races of the season. They got promoted, I think, before Imola. So if Polamachi does the same thing, he can find himself in F2, but I don't think he wants that because, of course, he had a terrible season last season and he just started picking up the form again. So maybe if he gets put to F2, he might not have the progress he's got already right now, because he's building early momentum for this championship and he's doing such a good job so far. Majority of people are in the pit lane then to get ready for the final runs and qualifying, but Junkie Angle P14, he did pick up a podium back in Belgium and he had a solid rate. Well, he had a solid qualified in Australia, qualified P4, but dropped backwards in the race, I think due to having tyre problems as well, too much tyre wear, and he sustained a lot of tyre wear too on that day. But it looks like in the corners just going so deep as well, misjudging his braking point, just being a bit too ambitious there, the braking zones, and unfortunately couldn't get his angles right in towards that corner, and he lost a lot of time. So I expect a lot more time from Junkie Angle if he gets his corners right, but he definitely kept outbraking himself. And surprised, like you said, not a validation too. So a bit of an all here in the qualifying regards almost every single driver back in the pit lane apart from a few. We've got the Granddad still out there, but he should be coming to the pit lane at the end of this lap. And let's see that the Mad Dash ready for the final moments here, qualified. A 30.534 is the time to beat, and he's currently quicker than DeMarco by under 100th of a second between the first and second place. It's actually 8,500 slower than P1 there, Podimachi. It's 4/10 back, so it's a massive gap further back between P3 to P6 there, but it's so close between those guys as well in the lower end of the field then. But Podimachi then with a 30.5, can anybody beat him? There is 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go on the clock here. Don't go anywhere because it all could change in a matter of seconds. Who can hook it up? Who can finally put the lap together and take Paul away from Podimachi? Can Podimachi extend his advantage? We're about to find out in the final moments of qualifying here in USA.
3 minutes to go, and first one out on track is the man second in the championship. Milan Diosi makes his way out of the pit lane, and he will be the first one to start his final flying lap. Might be going out a little bit early to maybe have the time to potentially go for a second lap if he invalidates his first one. He sure wants to find quite a bit of time, especially knowing that his championship rival at the moment is on pole position by 85,000 of a second, but P3 Noxie is a full 4/10 behind, so it's looking at the moment like a 2-horse fight between Podimachi and DeMarco. But can some of the drivers find that improvement on their final runs and get anywhere close to the man Podimachi in first place and DeMarco in second? We're now going out as well for their final runs, as is probably everyone. By this time, just over 2 minutes remain here in qualifying, and it's going to be getting very busy out on track, and it already is through Sector 1. Let's hope nobody's going to get impeded on their lap, or might be running out of time before they can start their flying lap. But Milan Diosi is making his way into the final sector to put in the final preparations for this final qualifying lap. He might even have the time to go for 2 runs, because there's 1 minute and 47 seconds remaining on the clock. The lap time around here is around 1 minute and 30 seconds. Everyone is out on track. Napoli is the only driver who has not set a lap time yet, and everyone else is going to try and improve from the lap times they have already set. Milan Diosi comes out of the penultimate corner, so it's everyone going to be their final run. Nobody can do 2 laps as the clock hits 1 minute and 20 seconds. Here goes the RB for his final run here in qualifying at COTA as he makes his way down the start-finish straight. We're right on board with the RB as he goes uphill in towards turn 1, turning in early there, hitting the apex and coming out of the exit very cleanly indeed, as he will now go flat out through the S's. Let's see how he's going to tackle these corners. If he finds 2/10 of a second on his lap, he's already on the second row of the grid, but that is easier said than done. Let's see if he found some time in the sector 1. Yes, he has. 1.5 tenths up through the first sector already, so a great start to his lap. Very close for the track limits there for the RB, but just looking very smooth on this lap for the man second in the championship. So this is exactly what he needs right now here in qualifying as he makes his way in towards the braking zone of turn 11. Getting a clean exit out of there as well. Now deploying quite a bit of battery and deploying the DRS as well down this back straight. Has he found some more time in this sector? It's quite busy in the final sector. Let's hope they're all going to be out of the way when the RB arrives as he goes in towards turn 12. As the Mercedes has retired. Bit of a moment there on the exit for Milan Diosi, but he's found a couple of hundredths of a second, but not too much. Still up by just under 2/10 of a second. So he needs to get a good final sector in order to secure himself a spot on the second row temporarily as he comes through the triple right-hander. Grandad is the final one to start his lap with just a few seconds remaining. The flag has fallen. Milan Diosi is going to come out of the penultimate corner, and it's looking quite nicely in these final couple of corners as well. Has he found some more time for the man second in the championship? Crosses the line and goes up to P4 with a 30.942. It's a good improvement, but will it be enough? Will he be able to stay there? That is the question. As more drivers are approaching. Napoli, his first and only lap time, what is it going to be in the Williams? A 31.7, P15 at best. But Podimachi at the moment still on top, and he's spinning out there, and that is not going to be an improvement for Podimachi. So does that allow drivers behind to potentially challenge our championship leader?
Oh, Podimachi, yeah, like you said, when Nico Rosberg spun out, I think back in 2015, but DeMarco is down in the middle centre by almost 1/10 of a second, so he's lost a bit of time. Can he regain it? Podimachi is out of the equation. Here comes the LP driver as he flicks towards 19, too much understeer, unfortunately, and he has to back off. So that's his qualifying done and dusted, but here comes the Mastiff coming towards the line. It's only P5 for him. What about Evan? He's coming towards the final corner. He's 1/10 up in the middle centre as he makes his way down towards the DRS and the line. He takes ball and so close. close. It's about 400 of a second. It's another McLaren 1-2 where they finish back in Belgium. It's Polymachi and Evan, first and second once again. What about Noxie? Noxie unfortunately has invalidated in the final part of qualifying. Here comes Pavatox to finish in P9 and Kingsman in P10. In the Williams there stays in P10 and the Grandadder in P12 comes across the line to go up into P8. But Polymachi is on pole despite spinning out on his final attempt here in qualifying. Still remains on pole by 400ths of a second. McLaren on fine form so far.
Wow, what a lap there from Eppin in the end. Just missing out on pole position by a few hundredths of a second, and it's a McLaren front row lockout again here in PSGL F3 tonight. The exact thing they needed, and let's see if they're going to be able to work together and potentially bring home a 1-2 finish like they did last week at Spa, getting themselves a 1-2 finish and looking to replicate that tonight here at COTA as well. But these are your final qualifying results. The top three separated by under a tenth of a second, and then it's quite a significant gap towards Noxie. Didn't even improve on his final lap and still found himself in P4. And Milan Diossi in the contention as well in P5, the Matajev in P6, then Gigelboon Fart 6-7, quite a name there, in P7, Grandada in 8th place, then Melbourne everyone on 9th, then Profitox, Kinsman, KDR and Chunky Angle, McKiller in P14, Mighty Wombat Slav, Alamiko Napple in P18 in the Williams. That is going to be the lineup for the grid, so now we can prepare ourselves for this race. Always an interesting race here around COTA. Let's see what the weather's going to be like. Looking clear and sunny skies up ahead, so might just be dry race that we're going to be looking at, which is going to be very interesting indeed, with the tire wear, tire strategies, and the general fighting out on track. So I'm looking forward to this race, but can Poly actually go for 3 in a row? He's got all the ingredients right now to convert it into a race, but he won here last season. Can he do it again to make it 3 in a row and have the best possible opening to his season?
Exactly, very dominant as well here last season, don't forget, in USA. So it looks like this is his track, and even though he had penalties, he's still able to build that gap and bridge it over that 3-second penalty window as well. Penalties will be crucial here too. It's just so common to pick up a penalty around here in USA. The last sector as well, where drivers just get caught up in the dirty air and just exceed a little bit too. But sometimes having the inside line can benefit you, although if you land in Norwich against Max Verstappen this year, Verstappen covered that well. So if you get a good start, try cover the inside line towards turn 1, you should be fine and dandy. Just make sure you don't make contact like Piastri, Norris, Hulkenberg, and Fernando Alonso did as well. But Piastri took a very wide angle, cuts across Hulkenberg and also Fernando Alonso, and unfortunately, those three retired: Norris, Piastri, and Alonso as well. I say unfortunately. I think some of you might, enjoyed that, but of course, neutral commentators, it's unfortunate for the situation for the time being. But what a shame for that was as well, for both championship contenders to be out. But Verstappen with another fantastic drive to win in USA this year, and also in Brazil, from starting for the pit lane to finish in P3. That's just unbelievable as well. Verstappen's breaking record after breaking record as well. He truly is a driver of our generation this season as well, whether you like him or not. He's truly one of the best. And when Verstappen is gone, people definitely reflect and look back how good he was as well. Even if you don't like him, I'm not a massive fan, but I do like and respect Max Verstappen as well, so I can keep it neutral there. But yeah, this championship fight between McLaren and Red Bull is spiced up. I say McLaren and Red Bull, McLaren and Max Verstappen, but it looks like Oscar Piastri is slowly slipping away from the championship. But McLaren in this game, in this division, looking very strong, like they were last season as well, when they had, I think it was at the time, who was it at the time driving for McLaren? It was Giroud Visser, wasn't it? And I actually forgot who it was who was driving last season. It was, I actually forgot. Do you remember who it was, Milan?
In the McLaren, you say? Or
yeah, McLaren last season.
What did they say?
Autumn. It was Autumn, wasn't it? Yeah,
Autumn, yes.
And Diogo Silva. They had a strong lineup as well last season when Giroud Visser won 3 in a row or 4 in a row. Then also when Autumn took his place, he won the Imola Grand Prix. So McLaren repeated what they did last season. And the run down to turn 1 is going to be very important indeed. Is the inside line, the outside line better? We've seen plenty of contact going down into towards turn 1. You can have 3 abreast as well. It's all about where you want. If you get a good start and place your car at the right time and the right moment as well. We saw, I think, Kimi Räikkönen overtook Hamilton here in turn 1 at 2018. The ultra soft tyre had the better start. as well. I think it happened in 2021 when Verstappen overtook Hamilton. Hamilton overtook Verstappen, but then Verstappen got it back due to the strategies as well. And in 2015, when Hamilton and Rosberg had their famous Turn 1 collision, when Hamilton bumped off Rosberg in the first corner and went on to win the championship as well. So we see plenty of moves going down in towards the first corner. It's all about how good your start is, what tyre you want, can you get it warmed up? But we're about to find out what will happen later soon. There is no formation, like remember, so you can't warm up your tyres and get them prepared. And it's all the way down towards turn 1. The uphill off-camber first corner, unsighted. And with it being uphill as well, it really helps with braking and slowing the car down as well for good measure. So let's see what happens going to the first corner. Milan, you excited?
Well, I certainly am. Cannot wait to see what happens in the first one. It's always exciting to see what goes on here at COTA that run up the hill. It's always, well, it can be carnage, but let's hope it's not that way tonight. But well, who knows who's going to get the better launch, who's going to get the best run towards turn 1? Will Edwin fight his teammate going in towards turn 1, or will they work together from the very beginning of this race? They're going to have to be mindful of the Michael right behind in P3. And which one of these three drivers will get the best launch? Will anyone go for an optimistic send in towards the first hairpin, or will they try to play it safe and think about the long game? That is decisions to be made. Looks like the majority of the grid is at the moment opting for the medium tire to start on, so they want to have the more durable hard tire at the very end of this race. A very common choice on this game. So, but yeah, that first lap, that first corner, always provides action at COTA, and I'm sure it will tonight as well. But Polamachi just needs to get that start right. I don't think he's going to have to worry much about Edwin going for any optimistic lunges in towards turn 1. They can even go side by side potentially, but Polamachi, if he does get the best lunge, then sure he will cover off the inside to protect and avoid anyone going up his inside to potentially take away his race lead. But like we've seen in real life as well this year, even when you start from P1, normally you don't think P1 is the best position as a starter because you start on the outside. You really don't want to have the outside line going towards turn 1, but it sometimes works when you get that great launch, and that is what Polamachi is going to have to aim for. And if he does get clean out of turn 1, then he can focus on the longer game and work around with his teammate, and hopefully for them, bring home a very good result tonight.
Indeed, then we're just waiting for the drivers to ready up to start the US Grand Prix. I think it is 28 laps around here. The Circuit Americas, of course, got introduced back in 2012, and I believe Lewis Hamilton was the person who took the victory around here for the first ever COTA Grand Prix here in Texas. Of course, we had the Indianapolis as well years and years ago, and with that famous Fernando Alonso versus Lewis Hamilton race as well back in 2005, when it was only about 6 drivers on the grid, and it was a big chance for those people like, I think it was Jordan, I can't remember who the teams were back at the time, but I remember in the main car Kayan back then, where there are a lot of Indian people supported him as well. But I think all 6 cars finished. Imagine if like some people retired and couldn't score points, because scoring points for the team were very hard back then. And we get underway here for the US Grand Prix in COTA. It seems like Polamachi gets a lovely launch. He's unchallenged in towards turn 1 we go, the uphill climb. And let's see if there's any battles going in towards the first corner here, side by side between the Aston Martin and the Racing Bull as we plunge down the hill towards turn 2 and turn 3. The Racing Bull just squeezed ahead. I think the Aston Martin has the backup, but there's already a safety car. A safety car has been deployed already in this race. And what has happened here? A Red Bull or Ferrari, in fact, both of us lost their front wings. So major contact going in towards turn 1, and there's a safety car already on lap 1 of this race, and we've barely seen any safety cars here in F3 this season, but the first one has been caused on the first lap here at the US Grand Prix.
Not something I would expect to see here at COTA. Well, yeah, like you said, Slav and McKinnon both losing their front wing on the opening lap, and the safety car has been deployed. It's very unusual to have the safety car on this game. I can't remember the last time we've seen a safety car in PSGL F3. I don't even know if we had it last season, but that is the way we're going to start off this race. So a perfect launch style for the 2 McLarens who remain in the lead of this race with the Michael and P3. And it's Milan who has gained the position from Noxie. He's up to P4 with the Aston Martin just following behind in P5. Then it's the Brandella in 6th place. Let's see what the position changes were on these opening few corners. So Milan DLC, he has gained 1 place. Alpine and Melbourne, both 2 places gained as well. And it's Team Matachev and the Mercedes right behind who have lost the most. Both 2 positions lost. Kinsman with a clean start as well, getting a few positions, and of course Napoli with 3 positions gained, mainly due to the incident between the Ferrari and the Red Bull. Not sure what happened between those two, what has caused both of them to lose their front wing, but they will be coming into the pit lane to replace that front wing and potentially put on a set of hards and try and see how far they can make it on that tire. And I do wonder if anyone else is going to go for the same strategy, sorry for that, potentially near the back of the field as we end the opening lap under neutralization and into the pit lane. Well, those last two were not the only one, because Propetox, who started on the mediums, coming to the pit lane, and so is Napoli on the hard. So Napoli might have some front damage as well. So both Ferraris into the pit lane, no front wing replaced there for Propetox, so he's just going to the mediums, which is an interesting strategy for the Ferrari driver. Napoli going to the hards, and Slav and Mikkel both replacing their front wing. So 4 drivers into the pit lane at the end of the opening lap, but we have got ourselves a safety car at the beginning of this race.
Indeed, we have that. Interesting Propetox is in the pit lane, so maybe he's thinking about doing medium hard strategy, because I presume that most drivers here have chosen the harder compound tire. The harder strategy, we get 2 sets of hards and 1 set of mediums and 3 sets of the soft compound tires. So let's see how the strategy paves this way. Maybe get rid of the medium compound tires early doors, then go hard later on. So let's see how the strategy pays off for him. But so far, the top 8 on the medium compound tires, and Goofart unfortunately has lost a few places. He's down in towards P9 on the hard compound tires, so he's going for a durable stint. He crashed in qualifying, member, in the first sector, and unfortunately couldn't improve on his lap time either. And Kingsman, KDRDN, Junkie Angle is on the medium compound tires, Mighty One on the mediums as well, Alameko on the hards, Propetox on the hard compound tires, Nap on the mediums, with Slav on the hards, and McKillen on the hard compound tires too. So yes, 2 safety cars, but usually we usually see when a safety car comes out that somebody retires and the impact is, well, triggers a safety car. But usually you don't really see that lots of front wings really trigger safety cars. See bigger incidents where safety cars are deployed, but at the same time though, 2 drivers hitting each other, it should have been a VSC at least. But the full-blown safety car has appeared to neutralise this race, and it could also help with tyre wear as well. Maybe some people do struggle with tyre wear. It is super high, as you expect. The left front tyre takes a lot of punishment and beaten, especially in this triple I had here as well. So you can be very careful and wary of that left front tyre and how to manage it in this race. But the 2 McLarens have got it super so far in first place and second place. They could effectively control this race. They were both for split strategies in the last race, especially with Evan, who had a little bit of a difficult qualifier. So that's why he probably chose to go on the hard compound tyres at the start. But he paid dividends later on in the race, and he was able to get himself up into P2 at the end as well. As I think he qualified, where did he qualify in the McLaren? It was P4, P5. I think he split the strategy, and it did work, but effectively couldn't catch his teammate as the medium compound tyres just dropped off towards them. Now the stage strategies as well, so a straight fight between the 2 McLaren boys, the 2 Papaya drivers, and we'll see what rules are implemented in this race. But DeMarco, Milan Dioso are still looking for their first win of the season. DeMarco picked up podium back at the Australian Grand Prix, finished 4th, I think, back at the Belgian Grand Prix, and still looking to search for his first win. Alpine are currently 3rd in the championship as well. Let's not forget Alpine as well, currently P3 in the championship, with Grandada in P6 there. I don't think he took part back at the Belgian Grand Prix, but he did take part back in Australia, but I don't think it went well for him either in that race. But McLaren looking comfortable so far. Can they keep this advantage they've got in the first few of the Grand Prix? Can they only take this lead, or can DeMarco, can Milan, can Noxie, can the Grandada, or anybody else try and threaten the 2 McLaren boys in first and second place?
It's going to be an interesting race for sure, and I think we're nearing the end of this safety car period, so it should be coming in at the very end of this lap, and it's going to be the 2 McLarens out in front who can control the pace and control this safety car restart. The entire top 8 on the mediums, the Mercedes on the hards, and a couple more drivers on the mediums behind, with 4 drivers at the back of the grid who pitted for brand new tires, even though their tires only 1 lap newer than everyone else. But safety car in this lap, confirmation at the top of your screen. Then Polimachi is gonna lead the way till green flag racing, but still got this final sector to navigate their way through, going very slowly indeed, so everyone behind has to be mindful of not slamming into the back of someone, as Polimachi now coming out there of turn 15, and in towards the triple behind. Has to wait, of course, until the safety car reaches the pit lane, so he cannot go yet. Right now you will get a speed limiter until the safety car in the pit lane. He has to wait right now, but it's going to pull to the left hand side, so now Polamachi can decide when to go. And does he communicate with his teammate? I want to get the perfect launch for both of these drivers as he comes out of the penultimate corner. Still waiting for to go there. Is he almost side by side? Bit of contact, in fact, between the two McLarens. Polamachi slots back ahead, and there we go for green flag racing at the end of lap 3. And a second start to this race. Polamachi leads the way going on to lap 4. With Edwin following closely behind, but it's me on the LC who's got a brilliant start and is looking very close to the back of the Maiko, but not able to go for the move. In the background, that is Sauber of Melbourne going up the inside of the Alpine and almost at the Aston Martin there as well. Almost 3 abreast going in towards the one, but it's a double overtake for Melbourne. What a move for the kick Sauber up to P5, and it is Noxie who has been caught napping there. He's down to P7, losing 2 positions in the process. The Grandadder remains in 6th place. But Noxie down in 7th place, just ahead of Dimasachev in 8th. So the Aston Martin with not the greatest restart in this race, and he's going to have to get back into a rhythm and catch back up to the drivers directly ahead of them. DRS, of course, not enabled until the next lap, so overtaking will be difficult on this lap. But Polamachi leads the way as we go here on lap 4. 4:10 separated the two McLarens. Edwin is going to stay behind for now, but the McLaren out in front with the Maiko in P3, Dennis Milan in P4, and it was Melvin with the best safety car restart who finds himself now inside the top 5.
Indeed, and also as well, I wonder if the Aston Martin see a battle in the background between Kingsman and Giggle Goonfall. Sorry, unfortunately he's been dropped down into P10 there, so still struggling in those hardcore power tyres, not really getting up to temperature as they need to be. But as we head down towards turn number 50, we go this left-hander where we see a few overtakes can go from bad to wrong as well. Remember Danny Kvyat, I think Sergio Perez and Massa making contact down there all those years ago as well. And the recent one being, I think, Ollie Behrman on, I think it was Yuki Tsunoda at the time as well. But talk about the Aston Martin P7, I think he was a bit too cautious going down into turn 1. Don't you think, Milan? Because he was a bit tentative, a bit so cautious going in towards that first corner. He was looking backwards and thinking, oh, the Aston Martin's coming, I don't want him to hit me, so just want to make sure, don't want to make contact with him as we head down towards turn 1. DRS is enabled, by the way.
Yeah, it was a bit. I saw that as well as he went towards them when he saw the kick going up the inside of the Alpine, and then thought, oh, I don't want the Sauber to hit me, so he went for a bit of a wider line, and in the process of that, lost a lot of speed, and then it was Melbourne who could slip up underneath and then get that position as completely right on that, and Noxie is now dropped outside of DRS range as well of the Alpine. It looks like he is struggling a lot with the back end there as well, stepping out underneath the Aston Martin, so Noxie not having a great time at all so far in this race. But at the front, DRS of course now has been enabled, and the two McLarens still leading the way and almost a full second ahead of the Maiko. This can be very important for their race as they are working together and they are slowly but surely dropping the cars behind, and the Maiko needs to get a move on if he still wants to have a chance of winning this race.
Indeed it does then. So it looks like the RP driver is struggling to stay within DRS range there. He's just got himself back in it of 7/10 of a second. Was there a mistake out there, I think, in turn number 10 there? The heavy braking zone, because it's so easy to just have massive wheel spin. A heavy braking zone in towards turn 10 and have massive wheel spin there, leading onto the main straight, or the back straight, shall I say, with DRS is enabled. So it is super vital and crucial to get your exits out of turn 10 there, because or 11, sorry, because it leads onto the back straight already. But Noxie, it has perfectly become the second part of the DRS train now, just dropping it away and can't seem to pick up the pace. That's very crucial there for Melvin, and the Grandadas get past him immediately, because it seems like he's losing pace, and if they got stuck behind him even longer, they could fall foul to also that DRS train and not catch up, as we see yellow flags in the background. That is the yellow flag graphic there, just staying there. But Melvin, talk about him, he's just lost the DRS himself, and the gap was like under a second, but it's 1.3, so I wonder if he made a slight mistake out of turn 1, and that was cost him dearly. He did a great job to get himself back in DRS on the last lap, it was about 1.1, 1.2 behind, but now seems to be in a bit of trouble, unless he can get himself within DRS range, because the white line is just further down the road. He's almost there. Can he get himself in it? I don't think he can. No, he can't, unfortunately, so he just missed out DRS. So I think the best thing to do is let the Grandadder pass so he can reconnect with the train. But so far, McLaren have had an absolute blast in first and second place, controlling this race beautifully. They're not scrapping away too hard, although I think Evan might make a move on his teammate going down towards turn 12, but he just backs off, knowing there's no need to make a move just yet, as they're in, let's say, a quiet phase this race as we see the Haasman, the Machi gets past Kingsman, and Noxie's lost 2 places. Well, unfortunately, he's dropped down into P9, so he's losing places left, right, centre, having no confidence. And down the inside goes the Sauber of KDRDN. Does he make it stick? He does, as the Aston Martin has to go defensive once again, because here comes Giggle Goofar up the inside in towards turn 15. You're going to feel sorry, but the Aston Martin might do a switch back here, under and over, but he can't execute it. A bit of wheel spin there, a bit of contact too for good measure, as the Aston Martin is trying to fight all the way around the outside. But will he run out of grip of road? Yes, he will. He has to stay behind for the time being. So Noxie is losing. The Mercedes goes off the track, and through goes Noxie once again. And he slides and drifts into the final corner as Giggle Goofball picks up a 3-second penalty. Tried to do the under and over, but unfortunately, the Aston Martin defended at the right part at the right time. Will he dare go the inside towards turn 1? Thinks better of it as he stays behind. The Aston Martin go deep again, so he really is struggling in this race. Having no grip, having no confidence whatsoever. And he has to stay behind for the time being then, unfortunately, for the Aston Martin, who had a great qualified, but race pace is not on his side today. Started up into P4, but just slowly but surely lost places at the start, just like Junkie Angle did in Australia.
Yeah, just going from bad to worse for the Aston Martin. Also losing that momentum as he gets overtaken left and right, but just going to drop him further down the order. He is lucky to maintain his position ahead of Giggle Goofar there for a moment, and stays settled inside the top 10 for the time being, as the gap once again between Edwin and Jamaica has reached over 1 second. But I think the Alpine just had the DRS there on the back straight, and Edwin cannot really get any closer now to Polemachi, because he is already sniffing the rear end there of his teammate up ahead, so that allows the Viker to get just back within DRS range, 9/10 of a second to be precise. And it's Melvin who has got back within DRS range as well of Milan Diosi, so well done to him, getting himself back within that 1 second window and bringing the granddaughter with him. And now the gap towards the Matchev in P7 is over 3 seconds already, due to that earlier gap that fell from Noxie in the Aston Martin. But we go on to lap 8 of 28, so still 21 laps remaining in this race. The two McLaren still out in front and not looking to change position anytime soon. That was very late on the brakes there for Edwin, almost hitting the back of his teammate and losing a lot of time in the process. And now Michael is back very close to the back of the McLaren, so that was a very interesting moment there between the two McLarens, but luckily they did not collide there, as there's more fighting going on down the field. Profotox has got ahead of Alameko and he's up to P14, but he's got a 1.6 second gap to bridge to the cars directly ahead of him. And what about the fight between Domadachev and Kinsman in P7 and P8? This second train that has started to form, but Noxie has already lost out to KDRDN. The gap's 1.4 already, and the two Mercedes are going to come knocking on the Aston Martin's door, especially knowing that he's on 7 lap old mediums, and both Mercedes are on the hards, which at this stage might just be getting quicker than those mediums. So the fight at this front continues on, but no moves being made there right now. Here comes Giggle Goofar for round 2 of this fight. He's going to go up inside, and Noxie does not even defend his position, and through goes the Mercedes, and the Aston Martin losing out another position and falls outside the top 10, outside the points paying positions. And how long will it take before Chunky Angle comes up the inside as well of the Aston Martin, almost making contact there going in towards turn 14, but lucky for them it did not end with one of the cars facing the wrong direction. But the fight at the front, Polemachi is into the pit lane. Polemachi on lap 8 going on to lap 9, and he is the first one to go into the pit lane. That is very interesting. From the lead of the race, is the first one to make his pit stop going on to the hards, even though having a safety car period. So that is a very early pit stop from our championship leader. Following him is Noxie, which is no surprise, seeing how much he has struggled on this first stint. But for me, it is very surprising to see Polemachi so that early into the pit lane. And also look at all that traffic ahead that he's going to have to face on these next few laps.
Indeed then, so the traffic consistent with the Harvarders too, so the Harvarders will appear later on in the Grand Prix, so I think Polemachi's got to do some overtaking, hopefully they get stuck behind. Luckily, he's got a 3-second buffer towards the next car of McKillen up in P16. The two of them, the Ferrari and the Red Bull, that lost the front wing in the first lap, hence why there was a safety car. So quite interesting phase now. Probably might have to pay the price towards the end if he's not committed to a two-stop strategy, because I think a two-stop is a little bit slow around here, so I don't think you'll be committed to that. And it is only a pit stop, so can he make the tyres go to the distance while still having some decent amount of life left in them? Try and defend for the guys who are pitted later on the Grand Prix. Here comes the Sauber down the inside, but has to back out. The Williams and Kingsford also has the DRS on the back of the Haasman as we head down towards now turn 30 we go. But let's see if the guys at the top of the field there decide to respond and pit this lap. Because see, DeMarco, he really is struggling. Every single lap he's fighting incredibly hard and has to push the car even harder to stay with the DRS range. It keeps fluctuating every single lap for the DRS there between first and second place. So he really is struggling to try and keep on the back of the McLaren's rear wing. But let's see if anybody does. Oh, Melvin hits the curb there on the inside as we head in towards the pit lane then. Every single driver's pitted, so I thought for 1 second these guys might extend their stint, but we know how powerful the undercut around here is as well. So they pitted 1 lap later in comparison towards Polimachi, and Polimachi with the 1 lap fresher tyre should ideally get ahead of the guys who are pitting.
Sure he will, with this clean outlap that he had. He will get ahead of his teammate there, who comes just out of the pit lane. Not a big gap between the two, but I think it's just over 1 second. So Polimachi is going to have some clean space around him. But I do wonder if he is going to let his teammate within his DRS range to work together, because the gap towards D'Amico is 1.92 seconds between Edwin and D'Amico. So somehow the McLaren has gained a full second in the pit lane. Not sure how he's done that. But that is bad news for D'Amico, because now he's outside of the DRS range and Edwin is getting almost inside the DRS range of his own teammate, who has just dropped him within 1 second. So the two McLarens seems like they're working together in this stage of the race, and Edwin is still struggling on those colder, hard tires. But Polimachi now 1.5 seconds to Makita just ahead, who of course made their pit stop in the safety car period. As Slav goes up the inside of Napple, whilst the fight continues on with the other Williams as well, with Kinsman and KDRDN fighting it out for second place in this race at the end of their stints. The Saubers up the inside, and turn 14 is Kinsman going to try and go for the switchback. Not quite, just does not have the grip with these 9 lap old mediums, and for sure the top 3 will come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. So Dimatev for a brief moment has led this race. As I say that, he's going to continue on for 1 more lap, and so is KDRDN, as Napolis gave a 10-second time penalty for a severe collision with Makita. Not sure what happened between those two. He's holding up the Maiko behind, and there's the Ferrari inside. He's going to try and go to the inside into the pit lane, and that's not going to work out. He's going to spin out. Milan Diawski in the process. What a moment there. No. As Napoli making a complete mess here in the final quarter. First of all, having a collision with Makita, then losing his front wing, trying to go into the pit lane, makes contact with the Maiko, spins out, and takes out the man second in the championship. What a moment there, and what a mess at the end of this lap.
Gotta feel sorry for Milan Diosso there, who just pitted on a new set of hardcore power tyres, and all of a sudden Williams unfortunately takes him out. So Milan gonna have a lot to complain about after this race, rightfully so, as Napoli, he wanted to pit, but there was somebody in the way of him. I think it was the Alpine, and then he tries to get back in the pit lane, but just spun around. He made contact with the Alpine, spun then, and took out Milan with him. So it was all a mess down there, as Napoli desperately wanted to pit it. He made contact with McKillen, I think, down towards the triple right-hander. Oh, down the inside goes to Sauber in towards turn 12. They made contact side by side there. The Haas gets shoved off the track almost as they're both struggling for traction, but down the inside goes Haas again. Sorry, the camera work there as well between the two, but here we go. Sauber versus Haas going down in towards 15. Is this an under and over? Is this a switchback? Is this down the inside? They're leaving barely any space. They both almost go off the track. And where's Kingsman? Kingsman is just behind this battle. Watch the intensity of this battle rising up. Noxie spun in the first sector as well for good measure as he gets going once again, but Kingsman's right behind as we see the hovers of Giggle Fart and Junkie Angle right behind him as well. As the top two, they make their way in the pit lane. I thought for 1 second that KDRN would hit the Haas in the pit lane, but luckily he did. Oh, the Williams there. He tried to overtake in the pit lane, almost succeeded. They're side by side in the pit lane. Can you believe it? Actually side by side in the pits. Yeah, they are. As Kingsman then dives off in towards the pits. That was a very, very... Oh, here comes Evan on the inside of his turn 1 of his own teammate. So they both caught up towards the back of the half runners of Slav and Raw Alameki in P4. So the two McLarens once again in pursuit of each other as Noxie gets another penalty in this race. However, they both dropped Melvin like a stone. The gap is like 5 seconds between the two. So these two McLaren drivers have got some commendable pace here to keep the guys at bay, and they should have this on their own way towards the end of the race. Once they've cleared the front runners, or once they clear the people that haven't pitted yet, they should have their own free space and fight it out towards the end of the race, which could be very interesting indeed to see what happens between those two.
Penalty there for the Michael, 3-second time penalty for track limit, which is not going to help his case of finishing on the podium, as Nox is having a terrible time in this race. Must be said, as the two Mercedes swap positions, and Polamachi is going to get past Slav, and so is going to go to the inside. Edwin is going to nearly crash into his teammate there into the braking zone of turn 12. That is the second time in this race that Edwin almost took out his teammate Polamachi in this race. Very close up between, a big moment there on the exit as well, as Noxie has retired from this session, becomes our second retirement. Unfortunately, does Napple also retired when he had that interesting moment in the final parts of the lap. But the two McLarens, they're getting close to each other for the second time in this race, trying to get past Slav. As Maiko in the meantime, he's got back ahead of Melvin. But yeah, they have dropped a full 5 seconds now towards the two McLarens, and that moment at this very point of the track certainly did not help 2 laps ago, and it has lost them quite a bit of time, as the two Mercedes now lead the way with Junkie Angle in first place. His teammate following closely with a time penalty, and then it's Provotox in P3, but he still has to make the pit stop, as do the two Mercedes and the Aston Martin of Adameco in P4. So of course the net race leaders will be the two McLarens, as they're now catching up to the back of the Aston Martin and the Ferrari just ahead, and they would want to dispatch those two as quickly as possible, as well as the two Mercedes in the lead of this race. Otherwise they will lose out a lot of time, which might allow Damaiko and Melvin to catch back up, but the gap now between those two is over 5 seconds compared to the two McLarens just ahead. So we've got the leading train right now, led by the Mercedes duo, then Provotox, Adameco and then Polamachi. They all have the DRS, so the McLarens will not be able to get past on this lap at least, as the two Mercedes swap around 1 second more, allowing Gunfart to take the lead of this race here on lap 13, as Melvin gets ahead of the Michael once more. Seems like these two are working together as well to try and catch up to the field, to the pack up ahead, but they haven't gained any time at all to the two McLarens. So it looks like it might just be another McLaren 1-2 in this race, but we're not even halfway into the race, and anything can still happen, of course. So let's not get our hopes up for the drivers behind. So at the end of this lap, no one coming into the pit lane from the hard runners. They want to stay out long, so Polamachi and Edwin are going to have to do this the hard way and get past them on track. Bit of a moment there for the Aston Martin just ahead, coming out of the final corner. So is Polamachi going to try and send one to the inside in towards turn 1? Does he dare to go? And he does, sending one to the inside. Polamachi into turn 1, almost making contact with the Aston Martin, but he has the better traction on the outside, and that will frustrate Polamachi. But now he's going to try and go for 3S, surely not, and he's going to back out of that. And he doesn't want to risk his lead at the moment, but he is going to lose a couple of more tenths on this lap in this train. So that does allow the cars behind to slowly but surely gain a couple of tenths here and there. But now Polamachi is going to have a great run on the Aston Martin going in towards the hairpin. For sure it's going to go up the inside, yes he is, and he should have the better traction with those newer hard tires, and he does there on the exit. So up the P4 is Polamachi, and now can try and set his sights on Provotox just ahead, whilst his teammate Edwin is going to try and get past Adameco as well just ahead. Let's see if he's going to do it without almost slamming into his teammate into the braking zone, and Edwin is ahead of the Aston Martin. So two McLarens now at the P4 and P5, but they have still got 3 cars just ahead of him to dispatch to get themselves back into clean air in the lead of this race.
Every time Polamachi makes a move, it's very important Evan makes a move as well, because let's say, for example, Polamachi makes a move, like, for example, somewhere unconventional, and Evan has to stay behind for like a few tenths or so. It could drop out of DRS, and that will give Polamachi all the encouragement he needs to pull away. But what's happened down there, Demonstrative unfortunately has gone for a spin, and that unfortunately has read his race as Mighty Wombat is about to overtake him, his teammate. So they make contact as I just went off board there to watch the two McLaren drivers. Here we go then, down towards the main straight with DRS wide open as we head down towards turn 1. The Aston Martin spun, I think, Alemecki spun out of the final corner. Not quite sure if it affected him or not. Obviously it has, but in terms of this race with safety cars. But Polimacci side by side with the Ferrari. Let's see, does he get ahead cleanly? This has to be a clean overtake. He can't afford to make any contact. But the Ferrari is not ready to yield just yet, as Polimacci has to yield. There we go. Look at this. Can Evan get the run around the outside to get him? No, he can't. So that's he has to stay behind for the time being. Then Polim. Oh, look at this. A nice one on the inside. There's no way. Look at the drive he had out of turn 7 going towards turn 8. They almost went around the outside there, but luckily he did, because there was no room whatsoever as his teammates desperately get past. Who else dropped down the order? It's Alemecki again. Alemecki, sorry, unfortunately, who's dropped down the order again in the Aston Martin. But this is getting so intense. I thought for 1 second, when the McLaren drivers rocked up to this battle, they overtake with ease, but they can't do it. That's the DRS point. They're stuck in the DRS train. But here comes the two Mercedes drivers side by side as they swap places for first and second, both on the hardcore power tires, of course, so not pitted just yet in this race. But the two McLaren drivers, they've got to be patient to make sure they don't make any sort of contact. Very important for the championship and the race too, because it's so easily your race gets spoiled when you make contact with somebody on all the tyres, because you're desperate to get past them. You've got to pick your moment. You've got to be methodical about it and think clinically as well. Try and get past them without any sort of contact, as Polimacci is desperate to get past. He tried it towards turn 1 and turn 2. It's such a risky move, a high-speed corner, constant change direction going side by side there, especially with the driver on all the tyres. But can he finally overtake him down towards turn 1 as he might go wide? Here comes Evan. He always looking for a move to go past him, always sneak to the inside somewhere. As we now exit the final corner we go, as we head towards turn 1. Polimacci this time is not close enough to go to the inside towards turn 1, but if he's smart, he won't fight too hard and make sure he keeps his teammate behind his boards. The last thing you want in this race now for Polimacci and Evan is to make contact with drives on all the times, because they're not in your race. Yes, there may be a blockage, but at the same time, you know they're going to be fit, you know they're going to be far behind, so there's no need to risk any moves unless you're very confident, 100% certain you can make the move without making any sort of contact, especially for the championship standards as well, and for these two races where they go for the, well, I think Evan's going for his first of the season, Polimacci's going for his third of the season, but gets a good run out of turn 10, might set himself up towards turn 12. It's all about the exit at turn 11 now. Let's see if he tries to offset himself in his corner, try and get a better exit, do the under and over, get a better exit using the wider line, and surely now the DRS wide open, thinks about overtaking the Ferrari driver on Povotox. Here we go with the battery of the DRS, the Ferrari's derated, and this should be an easy move as we head down towards turn 12. He's not backing off just yet, but as we now head towards the breaker zone, he finally claims P3, and it's very important as well for Evan to follow her too. Melvin's finally got past Slav, goes off the track there too, as the Red Bull goes through, and the RP driver backs off for the time being, not wanting to make any contact with the Sauber as he remains in P8. But Evan has got past 2. He's up into P4 and he overtakes Povotox in towards turn 15. Another place to go side by side there too. That's crucial for him to stay with his teammate. He's up into P4 now as the two McLarens chase the two Mercedes who haven't pitted in this race just yet.
That moment there from Melvin in at the end of the second straight surely had hampered his progress of getting close to those McLaren. The gap was 3 seconds, but now he's lost half a second towards those two. And we now go on to lap 17 of 28. The Mercedes drivers still staying out in this race, still in first and second. And look at those McLarens lurking in the background to try and go for the move. As Melvin now goes up the inside of Slav in towards turn 1, and now he gets past, and now he has this clean air to try and chase after Povotox, who still needs to make his pit stop, because I don't think he's going to be able to go to the end on, well, what will be 26 lap on hard. So Melvin now finally has some clean air and put on those lap times and put these hards to good use. So let's see how quickly he's going to be able to close up to the train ahead, the leading train. That is Polimacci is close to the back now of Gikogun Fart 67 as he comes out of turn 12. Will it be close enough to go to move though? That is the question. They both have got quite a bit of battery to work with, and Polimacci is turning off already. He does not want to go to move on this lap. He knows he will not be able to do when the car ahead has the DRS as well. So he stays put in P3, but can he try it somewhere else in another place, potentially down in the braking zone of turns 14 and 15, try and go for the alternative line, see what his teammate did on the previous lap? Not quite. He's going to stay behind on this lap and not risk it, and will follow those two Mercedes for yet another lap, as Melvin now is close to gap to around 3 seconds to that train, but he also has to save a bit of battery as well, while Slav still has stayed ahead of Maiko, who wants to get by as soon as possible as well to follow the Kicksauber through to potentially the front of the field. So we're on to lap 18 of 28, 11 laps remaining in this race. Polimacci is still very close to the Mercedes, but he's not going to go for a movement towards turn 1. He is just a little bit too far behind, has a look there up the inside, but like I said, not close enough on this lap, and will potentially line up a move in at the back straight as the Maiko does get past Schwab and go up to 7th place, and is still within DRS range just about of Melbourne. But the gap between Melbourne and Profitox, surprisingly, is not really coming down. In fact, it just stayed quite similar. It's still 3 seconds, and what has happened?
Sorry to interrupt you, but Evan almost made the move in turn 8. That was so close. He got a lovely drive out of turn 7 to go towards turn 8, but couldn't make the move. There's no way surely down the inside in towards turn 11. Go to Tim McLaren side by side. This is a battle for the lead of the Grand Prix. I thought for 1 second Evan got a 3-second penalty, but it was a match because I thought he cut the corner there, but luckily he did. But that was he's making audacious, risky moves in unconventional overtaking places. This is so entertaining between the two McLaren boys, giving us such an epic battle. But down the inside, they contact slightly as well as Polymachi is off the track and goes wide, and Evan goes through. It looked like Polymachi just moved, sliding the brake in there, and Evans had the back of him. Polymachi went wide, and Evans up into P3. This is such a ferocious battle between the two McLarens, and we absolutely love to see it as well, as Evan is trying to find inventive ways to get past his teammate, and fully enough it's in the high speed corners where he gets all the grip and all the drive. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was a very special moment indeed.
No love between these two for sure, as into the pit lane comes the Mercedes. The second Mercedes was Jungi and continuing on as we go on to lap 18, but yeah, Edwin now is the leading the McLaren, and he is going to have Polymachi very close behind, but he has got a much more battery to use on this following lap. So 10 laps to go in this race. The gap's 1.1 between Jungi, Engel and Edwin, so Edwin needs to get within the DRS range of the Mercedes, otherwise he will be vulnerable to Polymachi going on to the back straight, but I'm sure he will be able to do that, as he has got a direct advantage of 9 laps, but the gap is still, to be fair, 1.3 seconds. Jungi Engel has got some great pace on these very old hard tires, it seems. And at the moment, Edwin, he is not close enough to be within the DRS range, so now Polymachi might have to go on his teammate once again to try and go for the re-overtake, potentially coming out of turn 11 and on the run towards turn 12. Get two McLarens fighting it out here on track in these final 10 laps. Another very time penalty there for Team in the Haas, but here comes Polymachi with the help of the ERS slipstream, and ERS is going to go to the inside and is going to take back the provisional lead of this race. Polymachi's back ahead of Edwin as we go into the braking zone there of turn 12. So Polymachi, our championship leader, crucially back ahead of his teammate, while Melvin is still closing the gap towards Profitox. The gap's now around 2.6 or 2.7 seconds towards the McLarens, but still not close enough to to have a real opportunity at this race win. Jungi Engel now has fallen into the clutches there of the McLarens. The gap's around 8-9 tenths of a second, so that was a crucial move there for Polymachi, because not only did he get past his teammate, but he also got that DRS down this straight. But as I say that, Jungi Engel is going to pull off to the left hand side to make his scheduled pit stop. Going on to lap 20, Polymachi now finally on track, is in the lead of this race. There's a straight fight between the two McLarens, because now Polymachi from this lap onwards will not have the DRS, and Edwin will for sure be looking to try and find a way past his teammate.
Melvin in P4, I'm interested in him because he's gain and gain. The more these two guys battle, the more of a chance Melvin gets closer and closer. It could be a three-way battle for P1 and P2 and P3, but at the same time, though, the Sauber's got to get past Profitox quickly. Even though he's on the old hardcore powered tyres, he's got to get past him down that straight in medium effect. He can't afford to waste any time. He's essentially been brought back into this battle due to the two McLarens squabbling as well in the previous laps, so it's really helped him being brought back into play here as we watch the two McLarens scrapping out for first place. Polymachi is going for his third win of the season. Remember, he won here in USA last season in F3 and going for 2 in a row. As Evan is looking for his first win of the season, he picked a podium back in Belgium, had a horrible result in Australia, but looking on 5 form so far, he's 5 tenths behind his teammate. Here comes Melvin for P3, gets himself back at the podium. Now let's see if the two McLarens keep scrapping away, or will they just hold station until the last few laps of the Grand Prix? Because you don't want to invite somebody else for the battle of the lead, because you've had a controlled race, you had a nice controlled race, but all of a sudden, these guys battle very, very hard against each other. Has brought the Kickstarter back into play, so I think the top two can be very careful not to bring somebody else in contention for the win, because they want to gain as well for the constructors the maximum amount of points. So I think they should settle down for a bit right now if I was them, and fight out later towards the Grand Prix, because it's brought Melvin back into play. He's only 2.1 seconds behind. He was like 5 seconds behind at one point, even more than that, but all of a sudden he's looking in good shape so far, potentially try and catch the guys. Kingsman and Jungi Engel, that's a nice move on the outside there as well. And Marco goes up into P4 in the Alpine. It's a shame he's got that 3-second penalty, but he's up into P4 now, ahead of Profitox, who still hasn't pitted, running a very... Yes, he has actually, the first lap. So I don't can he try and get himself towards the end of the Grand Prix? It'd be much of a stretch. It'd be a massive tall order to get these hards towards the end. He could be reaching punch territory at any given moment too, so be very careful about that. But is there any way now for Melvin to get this gap down under a second to try and get himself a DRS range? I think the top two need to start working together now until the later one of the Grand Prix, so they can have a chance of winning.
Melvin's pace is very strong at the moment. He has gained a couple of more tenths. The gap now, well, it was under 2 seconds. It is 1.8 seconds. He's also bringing D'Amico with him in the Alpine, so these two might be able to work together as well to get through to the two McLarens. But now, of course, Melvin is losing a lot of time towards the McLarens, and that was Edwin. It's almost into the back there of his teammate, and now he's going fully off track in the process to avoid hitting his teammate Podemachi, and that has cost him a lot of time, which allows Melvin to get back closer again. But that is the third or fourth time in this race that Edwin has nearly collided with his teammate under braking, and now Podemachi's almost got himself out of DRS race. He's got a full battery to work with as well, so that might have been a crucial moment in this race, and might be a race deciding moment. But Edwin is getting back within DRS range right now as we go on to lap 22 of 28. Very close once again between these two McLarens, whilst the gap towards Melvin is around 2.2 seconds again. So Edwin now back within DRS range of his teammate, but he had to use quite a bit of battery to get back close to Podemachi there in the lead. But wow, very surprised to see another moment between these two. As Junkie Angle now setting the fastest lap of the race. He's got a brand new mediums, looking to chase after the cars ahead of GDRDN and P8. Then Mendoza, you haven't seen much of him after that incident with Napo a couple of laps ago. Now finds himself in a very lonely 7th place and looking to chase after Grandada and Profitox, but I'm sure he will be able to get past the Ferrari because he's been on these hards for 20 laps now, and he's just dropped outside the range as well compared to D'Amico just ahead, who was looking to get past Melvin soon as well, so they can both chase after the two McLarens out in front. The gap between the two is almost a second. It is fluctuating between just under and just over a second, but look how much battery that Edwin has to use to close the gap towards his team. And as D'Amico now gets past Melvin and now finds himself back on the podium, but he does have a 3-second time penalty hanging above his head. But well, the gap now is 3 seconds towards the McLarens. So it seems like the two McLarens are just a little bit too quick in this race, and it looks like it still might just be a 2-horse fight at the moment. But it is Podemachi who's got the upper hand at this stage because Edwin is struggling to stay within DRS range.
Exactly, more ERS, and also looks like Edwin's always overdriving the car, just always oversteering every single corner, having massive issues with throttle as well, massive wheel spin, and unable to keep up with Podemachi. Somebody in the background just puts off the track. It was Profitox. How long? Maybe just go hanging for a safety car. I don't think these hardcore power tyres can get towards the edge. Sure not. That'd be a miracle if he does, but he's going to try and survive. And I think P10 could be his best because the two Mercedes will be his tail anytime soon as well. 5 laps is a long way to go on these old hard compound tyres. Feels like a lifetime on those hards. But the two McLarens there giving us some great entertainment. But Evan keeps dropping out of DRS range, and he's dropped out of DRS range right now. He's able to live with his teammates' pace, unfortunately for him, as he drops out of DRS range. I thought the two McLarens going to have a ding-dong battle all the way through. But Podemachi just has enough more pace in comparison towards his teammates and brings the gap over a second, and he could be pulling away from here on in now. This has been a great drive for Podemachi. It could be another McLaren 1-2 again, but unfortunately for Evan, this time he can't seem to get the better of his teammate. The gap is 1.3. He made a mistake out to 11, the most crucial part of the racetrack as well. So able to keep up on this occasion. Podemachi has been on fire form so far ever since the start of the season, and he continues to once again. Here comes the Grandada, who's also in a great race. He's up into P5 ahead of the Ferrari, behind us is the Kickstarter, looking for a move as well. He's going to go up the inside of Milan. He is. He's outbreak himself. Not quite, goes a bit deep though, and Milan gets a much better exit the side by side as we head down now towards 13. We go, just enough space given for both from there as we continue the battle all the way down to 15. As I thought for 1 second Milan will try to come the inside in towards 15, but he doesn't and stays behind him. But Evan is desperate to get himself back in DRS range. Ever since he lost it, the gap keeps fluctuating, hovering around the 1 second point, but it's very crucial now to try and get himself back in DRS range and try to save some battery ready for the last lap of time. But he can't do so. He is struggling to bring that gap down under a second, and this could be the race decider here.
This could be the end then of Edwin's hopes of winning this race. Podemachi is just a little bit too quick, and he's managing that battery very well indeed as well. which isn't helping Edwin's case. He's only got 10% battery at the moment, whilst Polamachi has got around 60%, so he's got a lot more ERS to use, which keeps him just outside of that DRS rate. The gap's now 1.3 seconds. Seems like Polamachi has the upper hand through the first sector as well, where Edwin is struggling. Now picks up a 3-second time penalty for Edwin. That not only eliminates his chances of winning this race, but it now might put him vulnerable to Melvin in P3, because the gap is only 3.2 seconds as the kickstart goes a little bit deep though in towards turn 11. And for sure will be getting passed by DeMichael. But Edwin now with a 3-second time penalty. It is going from bad to worse for the second McLaren in this race, as DeMichael is going to the outside and he's going to get ahead in towards the braking zone. The Alpine back on the podium, although with that penalty will certainly not finish there, as Melvin is looking quite handy at this stage. But can Melvin get himself within 3 seconds of Edwin? That is the question, and Edwin needs to get a move on and stay outside of that window towards the kick Sauber in P4. What about the fight for P7 or P6? It's KDR and that's Milan Dioso fighting it out with Junkie Angle, trying to go around the outside there of turn 15, but could not make that work at this moment. But he is close to the back of Milan, just ahead in P8. I'm mispronouncing my own name, which is terrible there, but Milan in P8, 5 tenths ahead of Junkie Angle, but they both have the DRS. But is Junkie Angle going to chuck onto the inside and towards turn 1? I wonder. In the Mercedes, he needs to get a move on as quickly as possible. He's going to have a look at the inside. He's going to try and go round the outside on the braking, but brakes a little too late there, and Milan is just ahead on the exit and remains in front of the Mercedes. And as long as Milan keeps the Mercedes behind, he should be more safe towards the end of the race, because those mediums, they do not last a very long time. They only last around 8-9 laps, so the best of the mediums is at this stage of the race, so he needs to use these tires to get ahead of at least the RB and the Ferrari, and then try and chase after KDR in P6 and maybe even the Grand Adam. At the moment he's still stuck behind the RB with only 3 laps remaining after this one, so he needs to get a move on if he wants to get himself a top 6 result. Now he's very close to the back once again, going on to the back straight, as Melvin gets back ahead of DeMichael in their fight for P3. And look at the gap, 2.6 between Edwin and Melvin, whilst the Mercedes is going to try and go forward. That is Milan going to the inside of Profitox, and Junkie is going to try and go around the outside as well. It is the RB at the inside, and here through goes Junkie Angle as well. Profitox losing out to P9, trying to save his stars to the end. But now Junkie Angle, is he going to go for the straight back? Yes, he is going to send one to the inside in towards turn 15. It's a beautiful move, side by side on the exit. And it's the traction that helps the Mercedes get ahead of the RB. And Junkie Angle now up into P7 and can try and chase after KDRDN for P6. But crucially, Melvin is looking for a second place in this race, because the gap is under 3 seconds between himself and Edwin in second place.
When you thought McLaren would have an easier one too, something else just gets thrown into the mix now, because it looks like Melvin in P3, who has, well, he's been chased down by DeMarco P4, but we know that the LP driver has got a 3-second penalty, so we've got nothing to worry about unless he picks up a penalty himself in the race too. But can he catch Evan? He seems to be struggling so far. Do you know what? If I was Polamachi now, would I back off, give my teammate DRS? Because Milan's got a penalty too, unfortunately. But I know my teammate's got a penalty now, so there's no point scrapping away for first second, because we know that Polamachi's going to win it. So should I give my teammate DRS assistance and keep it McLaren 1-2, pull away the constructors, and let Evan finish in P2, or just pull away? But it's all down to Polamachi if he wants to do that or not. He's got a 2-second gap already, so it looks like he's showing no signs of slowing down. McLaren, unfortunately, depended again to go on the soft compound tyres. What a dreadful race it's been, as we see the RP driver go side by side with the kick. Sauber goes over to P3. We know that DeMarco, unfortunately, won't get a podium due to his penalty, but we never know if Melvin gets a penalty or not as well. There is still 3 laps left to go in this race. Not the usual climax towards the end of the race where we see some battles and overtaking, but at the same time though, this race has been absolutely fast and fantastic as well. Fast and furious, and so far Polamachi, like he did last season, controlling the pace really well and managing the gap, bringing the gap over a second and do what he needed to, and still continue this championship lead. It just reminds me of McLaren last season too, when they did the exact same thing with Jeroen Vizza and also Artem too. McLaren on 5 forms so far, but the more that DeMarco and Melvin scrap away, the worse they'll get for Melvin, because, for example, if they keep swapping places, scrapping away, that gap's to go over 3 seconds, and Evan could finish in P2. So that's the last thing Melvin needs, is to be scrapping away with the LP drivers to lose even more time. By the way, Junket Angle in P7 looking very quick in his mini compound tyres. He's right behind the Grandada too. So the two Mercedes who on the hard compound tyres, now on the mediums, looking super quick towards the end of this race. And the next target is the Grandada. I think P5 is best for Junket Angle. But yeah, he did his best, and both Mercedes as well had controlled the race beautifully despite being all the hardcore power tyres. The two McLarens could not catch him.
Haven't said his name much this race, but it must be mentioned. KDRDN is having a great race as well, and he kicks out from 12 on the grid, currently running in P5 and around 3.7 seconds behind the Maiko, who got that 3-second time penalty. The man who hasn't scored a single point yet this season finished 11th at Melbourne, 12th at Spa, and now running in a very handy top 5 position. But he will be under pressure from the Granada and especially Junkie Angle in the Mercedes in P7. But can he nurse it on to a top 5 finish would be a very good result for the Kickstarter team, especially when Melvin is at the moment at P4 and might be able to get P3, but at the moment he's behind the Maiko and 3.2 seconds behind Edwin in 2nd place. So I look at the stars as well on Podamachi in the lead, the right hand side. Not looking too great as he's going to enter the final lap of this race to go for a back-to-back victory. Going on to lap 28, it would be an incredible feat for the McLaren boys, but will Edwin able to bring home a McLaren 1-2? That is the question. So Podamachi now entering the final lap of this race, lap 28 of 28. Edwin in 2nd place. Oh, and what has happened?
Puncher, I was rather on board with Pavatox. He had one more lap to go, and unfortunately got Puncher. I was about to talk about him, how much of an amazing job he's done getting those tyres towards the end, but unfortunately the tyre blew out on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Remember, he had to pit due to damage, I think, and unfortunately he has sustained a puncture trying to take those hard compound tyres all the way to the end and drops out of the top 10. What a shame for him as well. Just had one more lap to go, but unfortunately the tyre couldn't make it and he's struggling to keep it pointed in the right direction. However, it is the final lap around the Circus Americas, and once again is Podamachi out in front, leading the way to perfection. He had pressure every single step of the way from his teammate Evan and also Elvin and the guys behind too, but this man has been unshakable lap after lap. There is a yellow flag out there, but of course it's for the Ferrari driver. Unfortunately he was sustained a puncture. That strategy hasn't worked at all for him. It is a entire brutal circuit, but he had pressure every step of the way from his teammate Evan Nasland in P2, who could still be P2 at the end of this race by penalty, but this man has been unshakable lap after lap. He's managed the race like a seasoned veteran, no mistakes, no overreactions, just calm, calculated brilliance. When it mattered the most, he delivered. With a lap ago, he broke the DRS critical, pulled away, and that was the moment the race was won. And since then, he's simply controlled it, and every braking point nailed, every corner precise, every gear shift smooth. It's not all about speed with Podamachi, it's all about race intelligence. As he makes his way now towards the final corner, it is Podamachi who wins the US Grand Prix. He takes the checkered flag, 3 races, 3 victories. What a start to the season for the McLaren driver. This is dominance built on control, not chaos. Every race has shown a different side of a talent. The comeback in Australia, the undercut and strategy masterclass in Spa, and had a flawless, pressure-proof performance in Texas. He emerged as the favourites, but it's far from over. We never know if Evan Nasland can get towards Podamachi, but Melvin did split both of them. It's actually 2 tenths away, so Evan did not get a McLaren 1-2. It was actually Melvin who finished in P2 by 2 tenths of a second, so great job. But McLaren have been the title hunters so far this season. They've been the favourite ones so far this season, and so far nobody is stopping them. But with 3 down, 8 to go, and Podamachi has put the rest of the grid on notice. This man is set the standard in PSGL F3 season 41. What an absolute race for Podamachi again, and this time let's see if he can control his consistency all the way through the season. Milan, what a good race, mate. I know we don't have an overtaking before, well, much faster for a lead, but still, it's been an epic one.
Yeah, absolutely great drive from Podamachi and a very well-deserved 3rd win in a row. An ideal start to his season and another incredible race from the McLaren driver. And unfortunately, Edwin unable to make it a 1-2 for the McLaren team, but still a very strong result for McLaren, who will for sure extend their lead in the Constructors' Championship as well with a double podium. Edwin just missing out on second place by 0.2 of a second, but still finishing in a very strong P3 back-to-back podiums for Edwin. Then the Michael went P4, and Katie Ardian did hold on to finish in P5. We have to wait a while for Provotox to finish this race. He's going in reverse at this stage, might as well, as he tries to finish this race with that rear left puncture. As he gets some more traffic there, but an incredible race for Podamachi, a very enjoyable race as well in general, with many great battles. Even not the most exciting battle for the race lead, but we did see some action between the two McLarens, and in the end Podamachi, when he broke away from the DRS, he did not look back and went straight to the finish and built up a gap of around 3 or 4 seconds to his teammate, and will get a penalty as well. Provotox crosses the finish line in reverse. That is the end then of the United States Grand Prix, and it's Podamachi with a 3rd win in a row. Absolutely incredible from our championship leader.
Indeed, then, after a string of bad luck this season, to turn around, a redemption arc for him as well. What a story this has been for Podamachi. 3 wins in a row, something he could have dreamed of last season when he had all those problems. But now it's started to build up. The foundations are there. Everything is starting to come to peace for the man who is leading the championship. His teammate led the championship last season, the Haas, but couldn't keep it towards the end of last season because, unfortunately, he picked up a drive-through penalty, which really ended this race. But Podamachi, well, the title pretty much is in shape, and we'll talk about the title now because it is a short season, so every race matters, and if you make one mistake in one race, it could have massive complications for the rest of your season as well. So every point matters as well. Consistency is key, literally, with these short 11 races this season. But next week is the break week then, and after that, we'll see you at the Monaco Grand Prix, and that should be, well, we'll see who can keep out the wars because we barely see any overtaking. Let's be real about it. So Monaco Grand Prix is in 2 weeks and a fortnight's time. Don't go anywhere because that could be an interesting. Remember, the two-stop strategy is implemented, and plus qualifying will be very important. Whoever takes pole is most likely to win the race, but that's not always the case with safety cars and strategy. But once again, Milan, it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate with you, mate. As always, thank you so much, and I enjoy every single race I'm with you, mate.
Thank you, and I would say the same thing as well. It's been a pleasure once again, and I've certainly enjoyed and cannot wait what the rest of the season has in store for us. So a great race once again. I'm looking forward to Monaco. Even though it might not be the most entertaining race, at least it will be a very strong qualifying as well, and we'll be seeing if Podamachi can maybe make it 4 wins in a row. So looking forward to next week as well, but it was another great race tonight. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and we'll see you all later. That's it from us, and your winner is Podamachi for a splendid victory, 3 in a row. Can he make it a quadruple when it comes to the Monaco Grand Prix?